Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 26th episode of Shot of Nostalgia. We're diving deep into that 1996 WCW lifestyle, brother. We are going over the November 4th, November 11th episodes of Monday Night Nitro. Maybe soon to be NWO Nitro, if you're paying attention to the show, damn it. But yes, I'm good old Mike Belcaster. You know where I've been, and I'm always with this homeboy right here, Medium Meng.
What's going on, man? Live from the No Sale Studios, it's the ace of the tavern, Stephen Acefield. We're both a little bit under the weather, but guess what? We are here to get the party started, and nothing makes you feel better than the hair of the dog. Let's get into it, man. We got a whole bunch of stuff to go into the newsletter. Dave Meltzer guiding our path into the dirt sheets of 1996. You know, he's beautiful. Let's take a look at him. Beautiful Dave Meltzer, still kicking right now in 2022, coming up with another year in the books covering pro wrestling, and he was doing it full time in 1996. It's kind of hard to believe that he's still doing it today at a high level, whether you like him or not.
Yeah, 100%, man. It's crazy. But Dave knows the game. So we respect Dave. We rock Dave. Look at that. Look at that. Big money Dave right there. Balling and shot calling.
I think he gets recognized when he walks around the streets of Japan. I mean, obviously, he's a bigger guy, so I'm sure they probably think he's somebody, and he's jacked. So maybe they think he's famous, but I'm sure he's recognized, right?
They're probably like John Laurinaitis. John Laurinaitis.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. So as Mike Belcaster mentioned, we'll be reviewing the November 4th and the November 11th episodes of Nitro. And listen, man, we're the go-home show of World War III. I messed it up on the wrap-up show. Didn't mess it up here. We have 60 men. It's WCW's answer to the Royal Rumble. And, you know, we talked about it on the wrap-up, and you and I were hinting at it about you loved it. You look forward to it. It was one of those nostalgia things that you really look forward to. As a kid, from the outside looking in, it just seemed like a cheap attempt to just be bigger and better. And sometimes bigger isn't always better. It never really topped the Royal Rumble for me. Maybe it's because I wasn't a WCW kid.
Absolutely. No. And bigger, I mean, trust me, it is a clusterfuck of clusterfucks, but it is an entertaining clusterfuck to watch. I'm
very much looking forward to it. Let's just say that. And I don't even know who wins it. I can guess who wins it because I remember seeing highlights of it, and one person makes sense. I won't spoil it for everybody if you guys are looking forward to watching it, but I'm curious how they do it. I mean, how do you how's the camera follow these guys in all the rings, 60 guys? How do you track the eliminations? It just seems like chaos, but not in a good way.
No, absolutely. The camera is the hardest part of the show, and that's one good thing. We always, compare AEW to WCW, and when they do Blood and Guts, when they got the two rings there, AEW has learned tremendously from having multiple rings on the WCW side of things that they know how to shoot their shit, and the camera angles always look good for the Blood and Guts shows because they get the two rings out. So we learned a little bit from these World War IIIs, but it's still a very fun show, entertaining as shit as always, and I'm just a big fan of having three rings in absolute fucking chaos.
The roster's deep enough. We see the roster from week to week, and they have a similar problem that AEW has now today. It's hard to feature everybody. So this will be a time that everybody gets a pay-per-view payday, which was a big thing back in 1996. And also, you get to see your favorites on TV, and they're going to pull from people from other promotions. They have relationships with New Japan Pro Wrestling, as we know. AAA is fading out, but we might see some guys from CMLL. Who knows who else is going to be showing up in the 60-man Battle Royal. I remember when WWE did the 40-man when Del Rio won.
I love that.
And they were pulling at teeth. Just like the first women's Royal Rumble when they're having all the legends come back. They're like, we don't have 30 women that could be in this Battle Royal. Can we find anybody? But I think they have 60 guys that are legitimate contenders. I really do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And to attest to the 40-man WWE Royal Rumble, I thought that was fun. It was something different, And then a year later, they did the greatest Royal Rumble, which just shit all over the 40-man Royal Rumble. So it was they didn't pick their cards right.
Yeah, all for $1 in Saudi Arabia. They gave up the legacy of the Royal Rumble, and Braun Strowman's back, so I guess they don't hate it so much anymore. But he's the one that won the greatest Royal Rumble
Yeah,
at
you
the
just
greatest
wait.
Royal Rumble.
You wait until
So-
Nick comes back, little Nick, and he's gonna beat the shit out of Braun Strowman. He's
Oh
probably
yeah,
like
the tag
25
partner.
now.
They have
Yeah,
history. That's
yeah.
long-term storytelling, brother. And we're gonna get him
Good
like Dominic
stuff.
Mysterio showing up.
Yeah, little sprinkles to the rats, man.
Cheese for the rats, and let's give some cheese for the rats for Dave Meltzer. Let's head into happy hour. Let's sip our tea, make ourselves feel better. Hair of the dog. Time for happy hour for the news in November 1996. All right, we have 2 newsletters to break down. The November 4th newsletter from 1996 and also the November 11th, 1996 newsletter that Dave dropped. And on Mondays, they were dropping at the time. I know now they drop the new newsletters twice a month on a Friday, so it's a little bit different, the schedule. Also, the way it was released was much different. This was sent to your house in a nice little envelope. He typed it up. Now it's on the internet for you immediately. But let's go right into it, and let's talk about Halloween Havoc and the success they had at the gate. WCW set all-time records for both live gate and souvenir sales for the 10/27 Halloween Havoc pay-per-view show from the MGM Grand Hotel Garden Arena in Las Vegas.
Woo.
So the money that they made here, $2,024,660 on the house on 8,390 tickets sold, approximately 10,000 in the 14,000 seat building itself, broke the company's live gate record set for the Elo DePaulo Memorial Show earlier this year in Buffalo, which made a gate of 193,456. But who's counting? Although that record was largely set based on the ability to charge high prices for the best tickets, since it was Las Vegas, as WCW has done numerous shows over the years that have drawn more than 8,000 paid. They go on to talk about how the merchandise clearly tied into the NWO's popularity. This reminds me of Grand Slam breaking the record. I was there live in the building at Arthur Ashe Stadium. They said this is the biggest gate in history. Look around, not nearly as packed as the year before. This is a matter of tickets being a little bit more expensive because you can charge them.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Supply and demand. And we know how far that goes in anything. I remember trying to buy tickets to All In, All Out, the first All Out. It was damn near impossible. They were charging like $900 for floor seats. It was like $300 for mid balcony. And you've been to the Now Arena. You see how small that place is. No fucking way am I paying $800 to sit in shit seats there.
So we also have more stuff in here about the merchandise, and Meltzer talks about how merchandise revenue at the house shows has skyrocketed in recent weeks at the arenas, largely due to the addition of NWO merchandise. This is the first time a heel faction is going into, I guess, the biggest sales. I mean, Stone Cold changes the game, and he is a tweener. He is, I guess, on paper a babyface, but he's a rule breaker. The NWO, they're booked categorically as heels. For them to be selling the merch they were doing, WCW, that was unheard of. Think about all the greatest heels in WCW history. They weren't selling merch. They weren't even selling shirts. And if you wanted a heel shirt, you'd make it yourself.
Yeah, no, it's insane. To this day, they're still selling NWO merch. Like, think about that.
Yeah,
it's insane.
You just bought one for Bash at the Beach. Yeah,
I bought 2 of them. Yeah, I mean, come on, how can you not? You gotta rep the boys, but at the same time, it's absolutely insane to think so far apart. That, I mean, you could still go to WWE shop and buy an NWO shirt, buy an NWO hoodie, NWO pants. It's still selling. It's still making money, man.
You go on Chalkline, you can buy the Wolf Pack, you can buy the black and white. I'm sure they have the LWO. I'm sure they have the BWO. They have all the different variations, and the NWO still continues to be a money printing machine. Let's continue with this relationship that I alluded to with Mexico and WCW. And there is some trouble in paradise as far as the relationship goes. So it all hit the fan in Mexico this past week with TV Azteca holding a press conference on October 24th, which had extensive coverage, including on the network Evening News, the top-rated talk show in Mexico, and was covered in all the areas, newspapers, and nationally throughout Mexico by AP as Conan, Rey Mysterio Jr., and the rest of the AAA wrestlers that work for WCW jumped from the group to form their own promotion. So at the press conference was Conan, Super Calo, the original Mascara, Sangrada, Los Hermanos Dinamita, and then other people down here that you'd recognize, Vampiro. It was announced that TV Azteca would be running 2 separate wrestling companies with separate television shows, which the long-term plan is to give separate identities similar to AAA and EMLL. But in this case, down the road, eventually it would build into a promotion versus promotion feud. probably influenced by the success of what they saw with the New World Order, with the company feuding within itself. This is huge news because at this time, AAA was relying on Conan. They're relying on Super Callow. Rey Mysterio Jr. is pretty much exclusive with WCW at this point, even though he doesn't have, ink to paper as far as contract goes. For them to be starting their own promotion, this is huge news. And the fact that it was covered all throughout the media, it wasn't just covered on the dirt sheets. This wasn't just marks like us talking about it. This was on the evening news. People were watching and drinking their coffee after dinner and seeing, like, you see what's happening with Rey Mysterio Jr.? This is a big deal.
Oh, golly.
So we have a huge thing with this going on. So we continue the conversation. Pena, however, was working hard over the past week and talked most of the wrestlers who had talked of jumping with Conan out of it, except the ones with the WCW connections. In many cases, the wrestlers came out of it with raises. For example, many have got their salary doubled from $140 a show to $240 per match. So, I mean, they were able to work it in. Maybe they work double duty. They get paid triple the amount they would have gotten paid. It continues to go on. It is fascinating about the people that were jumping there. There were lawsuits. There was a lot of bad feelings. But AAA was an absolute, it was a staple of Mexico pro wrestling. For this to happen, Conan was a hero. We talked about how he would walk around the streets. He was the Mexican Hulk Hogan. People would stop and watch him on these soap operas. I don't think people understand that. Like, by doing our research during this, he's the biggest star in wrestling, bar none, from Mexican pro wrestling.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, clearly his in-ring work explains why. I mean, he's great, especially in this 1996 era. Dude is killing it. So, I mean, I would be bothering him for autographs and, selfies and all that shit if they were around in 1996. Selfies for sure.
Absolutely. And the story resonates with me, and I'm not sure exactly what Shot Nostalgia number we did this on, but Meltzer is talking about how we have Conan starring in this daytime soap opera show, and they're showing a rerun in a restaurant, and everybody cocks their neck and turns this way, and it's silent where everyone is watching Conan do his thing on a soap opera. I can't imagine anyone in American pro wrestling to ever have that effect. I mean, Hulk Hogan is the pinnacle of popularity in professional wrestling in America. Even he couldn't grip the casual audience to that point. I don't think so.
No, I mean, you throw on Three Ninjas High Noon at a bar, nobody's paying attention to that shit. They want Rocky, they want Tum Tum, they want the business. They don't care about Hulk Hogan.
They want the toupee. They want that blonde mullet looking thing. And, Randy Savage pops it on, and then you get all the people turning their heads in a restaurant.
Hell yeah.
They look away from their mozzarella sticks for the appetizers, and they look at, there he is, Hulk Hogan in his glory, Three Ninjas.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
All right, so put the finishing touches on the November 4th newsletter. Bischoff, as you mentioned in the opening of the show, was teasing NWO now wants a part of Nitro rather than just the Saturday night show. We also have Glacier being back in a few weeks. They want to change his routine a little and also have ordered more multicolored lights for his ring entrances, so we'll stay tuned for that. I don't think it's going to help him anyway. They missed the train on good friend Ray Lloyd. And it appears Craig Pittman is going to end up going heel. And then the last two things, they postponed Flair's surgery from October 30th as they wanted him at the pay-per-view. And after the surgery, the doctors don't want him moving his arm for several weeks. So he goes to see Dr. James Andrews, who is the very famous surgeon who does all the Tommy John surgery. So if you're ever visiting Dr. James Andrews, there's an injury to your arm that you don't want to hear about. So if you're going to see him, it means you're out for a long time. This is specific to baseball, but a lot of pro wrestlers have seen Dr. James Andrews, and he's been doing it for a very long time, as it's evident here. 26 years ago, he's the guy Ric Flair called, say, make my torn labrum better, dude.
Hell yeah. Master of the craft, brother.
And the final piece here was also remnant of AEW Dynamite. And WCW is doing a tournament to crown a WCW Women's Champion. And Meltzer says 3 guesses who dominates that title. We know it's going to be Medusa. We see her dominate the women's division throughout the whole year when they're shown on TV. And this will include matches starting on the Nitro we're covering here. In the tournament include Medusa, Nagayo, Bull Nakano, Akira Hokuto. We have Lelani Kai, Malaya Hasaka, and Karu. So a lot of unfamiliar names to the casual audience. Very, very similar to two things: a tournament being decided for a vacant championship, and also we have outside Japanese, Mexican wrestlers coming into the promotion with no video package. They just showed up, and people didn't complain. They just showed up. And this is also, we're covering this WCW 1996, so they were doing something right.
Yeah, absolutely. They were trying to get Mike Tenay more work. And
that is true.
They really hit it. They hit the nail on the head with this one.
In all seriousness, do you think if they had a mic today to at least provide context and historical reference during a match, I don't know who it would be. I mean, Excalibur does a great job of covering the history, but if someone is brought in for a match, say like Juice Robinson, it doesn't have to be a New Japan Pro Wrestling announcer. It could be anybody that is just an expert on Japanese wrestling, whether it be a guy that covers it like Dave Meltzer or a guy like Brian Alvarez. Do you think it would bring some legitimacy and make people understand what's going on a little bit better, or you think it's fine the way it is?
No, absolutely. And I think like it's hard to pull somebody out of the group of who's going to do that. Like Don Callis was the New Japan announcer for a while, Impact announcer. Jim Ross was doing New Japan. Jim Ross doesn't know half these guys still, even though he was doing it, and it's not his fault. It's just old age kicking in.
He was doing it in like a basement too. He wasn't even traveling to Japan.
Yeah, no. So that, like, I mean, that's what I mean. You have to have somebody who's a master of the craft for Japanese wrestling. And
Kevin Kelly comes to mind. Really,
Kevin Kelly would have been great. Don West, something like that. Somebody to just put over the product more. I think it would grip people a little bit. It would put them on track a little bit more, but it's still good.
100%. And we're going to continue moving with the November 11th newsletter. And the biggest thing this week wasn't WCW news, it was WWF news. And this is the famous, you may remember it, the Pillman Austin gun angle on Raw happened this week. And Meltzer is talking about, did this go too far? This will be a huge turning point on where they go with their storytelling. If it bumps the ratings, they're going to continue to push the envelope and figure out what they're going to be doing. And Meltzer continues on this because he recognized people were upset about this. People were writing into WWF talking about how scared they were. I remember watching this as a kid and not knowing what was real, what was fake. I thought Pillman actually was going to kill Austin. That's what I truly believe watching this.
Still do.
So Meltzer says he might have actually.
Yeah.
So maybe we're onto something. He says dangerous ground and that they've created the environment, and WCW has as well, where absolutely nothing that goes on in the ring matters anymore. The outside ring storylines is everything, and action in the ring is meaningless. WCW had a tremendous match going on at roughly the same time with Chris Benoit versus Hector Guerrero, as we'll talk about. And the live audience in Grand Rapids, Michigan, had their backs to the ring and were looking at the New World Order guys instead of watching two great wrestlers work their ass off. He continues to talk about the angle itself. Was it offensive? Meltzer says, not to me, maybe to others. It's no different than any other violent television show. The only offensive thing on wrestling that night to me was stereotypes with Sonny Ono and WCW.
Fair enough.
But this is what we were talking about in the wrap-up with this MJF stuff. We saw it again on Dynamite where he's sitting in the crowd distracting people from what's going on. I do enjoy the New World Order coming in and showing their faces and having the personalities and being all over the show because it feels like the angle is tied into everything they're doing.
Yeah.
But that is some of my complaint here in WCW where it doesn't feel like the matches matter much. I don't feel that way in AEW at all, but there are times where the angle supersedes what's going on in the ring. And I don't know. At the end of the day, it's a pro wrestling show, so we can't do things despite the wrestling. It has to be about the wrestling, and the storytelling can be built in around it.
No, listen, you're not wrong at all. And when you take attention off of what's going on in the ring, especially when it's a big segment or a big match, it takes away from the overall grand picture of things, especially the Mox and Hangman type deal.
Right.
And I mean, even every Nitro for the last couple weeks has been NWO guy in the crowd. Let's pay attention to NWO guy, screw Jeff Jarrett, and nobody gives a shit. Like, we want to see what the Giant's doing. And it's a double-edged sword, like it could work for the good and it could work for the bad. You're kind of shitting on your own product when you do stuff like that.
Yeah, and we talked about it with the obviously the lawn dart incident with Chad on here and how that went over the whole show and everybody was creating this environment where the matches were going on. But no, I can't name one match from Nitro, nor could even the most diehard fan of WCW. I don't think they could name a match. It's all about what happened in the back. And a lot of what happened in 1996 WCW, what made it so great, was out of the ring. What they were doing outside of the matches. And if it was about in-ring work, trust me, WCW would have a hard time with their main event because Hogan and Macho, they couldn't go like they used to.
Yeah.
We talk about the in-ring action. I guess my biggest complaint is don't do it when Hector Guerrero and Chris Benoit are the guys in the ring or Eddie Guerrero. We need guys that you can do the match. I mean, if it's do during a Hacksaw Jim Duggan match, I think I'd be less likely to complain.
Something, Alex Wright. Nobody gives a shit about Alex Wright. Like, do it during that.
So let's continue here in the newsletter and some of the famous things we hear about Kurt Angle's visit to ECW and what could have changed history if he wasn't offended by what was going on. Meltzer recognizes Kurt Angle as an entity here, obviously not in the pro wrestling world. He does win the gold medal in 1996 in the Olympics in Atlanta, Georgia. So he's on people's radar. I know he visited WWF, and we also heard back in, I think it's SummerSlam 1999, he was in the Brock Lesnar was in the back. And that just fascinates me, seeing him interact with the roster during the Attitude Era. That just fascinates me. And also Kurt Angle here visited ECW and had interest in learning how to be a pro wrestler. And ECW was his first stop because he wasn't going to be able to learn the craft at WWF. Not at the time. They weren't going to take him off the street. And they do decide eventually when he debuts in, I think it's 1999 or 2000 Royal Rumble, where he comes in. I think he wrestles like Sean Stasiak or something. But imagine what could have been if they got their hands on a Kurt Angle in ECW. Not saying it would have changed their fortune, but I just think about all the matches that could have been. We'll talk about what happened here, but let's just hypothesize that now we're moving towards ECW mode in Shot of Nostalgia. I know it's not 1996, it's a year before this. Just think about that roster there. What could be with Kurt Angle there in their prime, the hardcore matches, the greatness that could have been Kurt Angle.
Yeah, and I guarantee it would have cut Angle's career probably 10 years short. You know, Angle's still clamoring to this day that he's got one more match in him. He's doing his thing. I don't necessarily see it when he worked that last match at WWE. He was very stiff and robotic, which happens. You know, this guy's got his neck fused like 4 times. He's a mess as a human being physically. But yeah, man, I think it would have been amazing to see at least a program with Taz and Kurt Angle.
Oh yeah,
you know, Bam Bam, you know, the good shit, and it would have been awesome. But I'm glad it went the way it did.
100%. We got the one off with Taz at the Royal Rumble for Taz's debut, so it was a sick match. He was the one that broke the undefeated streak at the Royal Rumble at MSG. Sick moment, awesome. But let's talk about the angle that Kurt Angle was offended by. He is a devout, secular person. He's someone who's a man of faith. So seeing what they were doing in ECW, I don't think he was very familiar with the product, because the angle that they happened to run that night was the Raven Crucifix, and let's read about it. So Kurt Angle was almost clueless on commentary during the Taz and Little Guido match. They tried to put it over like both WWF and WCW wanted him, but he chose ECW. Most reports that are the real reason for the apology by Raven after the crucifixion angle was because Angle was so upset about it because he does so much work in the community and has a certain image, and felt that it would reflect negatively on him being a part of a group that did something like this. We had that ECW documentary, The Rise and Fall of ECW. Kurt Angle does a spot in it where he talks about that's the reason he didn't want to be with ECW. It immediately turned him off and he walked out, didn't want to do business with them. We had to wait for Kurt Angle for another 3 years until he was in the wrestling world. It worked out for the better, but I also just like to think about Kurt Angle in that environment. It's fun to think about. Yeah.
Can you imagine a very green Kurt Angle wrestling on TV?
How New Jack getting his hands on him. Look, we know Kurt Angle's this alpha male that's a competitor, so I don't think he would be bullied in the ring. Never. Like, he's this bulldog mentality. But it's funny, like, he'd be the low man on the totem pole around these guys that work rate came secondary. Like a guy like Sandman would be just like, all right, kid, you're gonna take about 3-4 canes to the gut, then I'm gonna do my finish.
Basically. It would have been weird. Like I said, I'm glad. I'm happy with the way Angle's career played out. So we got more Angle, we got really intense Angle. And it did work out for the better.
All right, so let's continue down the line. We have nothing new on Randy Savage from front other than he's going to continue to work all the house shows for 2 months, but isn't booked for any TV under the new deal signed. The holdup for the contract being signed completely is that Savage wants to work only 100 dates and apparently is looking for a huge raise as well. Lost a lot of his leverage when Hogan decided to stay and Bret decided not to come. Savage seemed like he was the odd man out as far as who's getting paid. Winds up staying in WCW. We know he wants fewer dates, winding down his physical active career. We get a few more great years of Randy Savage, but as far as the in-ring competitor, he's kind of circling the drain a little bit here, and now we're moving towards sort of an out-of-the-ring personality that, you know, I don't think we got. I think at this point, Savage was on the bad side of his career, if we're being honest with ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Slowly easing into that Spider-Man role. Of you got 3 minutes.
We got Bonesaw?
Bonesaw McGraw, bro.
And his rap career too. We also had
his rap career.
Yeah.
Bring it, Hogan. You ain't a man. Yeah.
I wonder if that's copyright. If you could just play it on the show.
I don't know. That's a good question. Very good question. Probably. I think Death Row Records picked up Macho Man. So you know, you don't fuck with the labels.
All right, so speaking of World War III, besides the 60-man battle royal with the winner likely to face Hogan for the title at Starrcade, expect Sting to win if he's involved. That's what Meltzer had said. Also at World War III pay-per-view would be the Giant versus Jarrett, Hall and Nash defending the tag titles against the Nasty Boys, Ultimo Dragon defending the 8 junior titles against Rey Mysterio Jr., which is wild. Seeing him with Sonny Ono on Nitro carrying all those titles was a sight to behold.
Beautiful.
And Malenko defending the Cruiserweight title against Psychosis, which should be a banger of a match. Love Psychosis, an underrated luchador. Doesn't get his props.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
All right, so he continues to talk about the 8 belts that Dragon has, since one of them is the WWF Light Heavyweight Championship and 2 others are the NWA Junior Heavyweight and the Welterweight. So they were showing the WWF Light Heavyweight Championship on screen at the time. I think it was just defunct. Like I remember the Light Heavyweight Championship was created for Taka Michinoku in 1998.
Yeah.
Allegedly, it existed way before that.
I did not know that he was holding the WWF Light Heavyweight Championship until I was this many years old, Ace, that I knew he had the Light Heavyweight Champion.
Here. Dave Meltzer teaching all of us the greatness.
It's crazy.
And I got to go back and look at him holding the titles, and I'm sure it's stuck in there. It's 8 titles, but I'm sure the WWF logo did appear on TV, and maybe WWF didn't realize. They were like, "Oh, we have that title. Ultimo Dragon has that title.
Screw Ultimo Dragon. We're better than him. God damn it!
No one remembers that goddamn shit anyway." All right, so Flair finally had his surgery on the shoulder this past week. He may be out of action even longer than 3 months, as the plan isn't for him to return until the uncensored pay-per-view in March of '97. And that sucks, man, because we kind of put the bow on Ric Flair in '96. Any parting thoughts for what we saw for Ric Flair here? One of his better years that were you left wanting more? I mean, we saw it in full. Do you feel like he probably could have been better?
I thought he did great. Would I have wanted more? Absolutely. But goddamn, he did great. VIP table, running the shit with the Horsemen, fall brawl. Like everything was fantastic this year. And the biggest takeaway is he had Woman and Elizabeth running down the wild, strutting with the wild man, Ric Flair, baby. Woo! Loved
Amazing.
It. Yeah.
So we have a major angle being planned in Nitro at Charlotte where Hall and Nash attacked 19-year-old son David Flair, which would lead to a match with the Horsemen teaming with Kevin Green, who'll be reintroduced as Flair's friend. And they're going to go with David Flair potentially being active in the ring. We do see David Flair active later down the line.
Yeah.
This is the first we're seeing David Flair getting that itch for pro wrestling, and story doesn't end well with David Flair, obviously, and everything what goes on with that, but is interesting to see him trying to carry on the legacy of Ric Flair.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. I mean, David Flair had potential. He was a good talent, and it's crazy to think that after all these years of David Flair in WCW, that I was part of one of his 10-bell salutes when he passed away. It was very crazy. So it just.
Oh, do you want to tell that story? I mean, did you want to tell the
story?
Yeah,
no, I was working my indie shows and I was doing timekeeping and ring announcing and, ladies and gentlemen, 10-bell salute for David Flair. And, we didn't know what the hell happened at the time. So we were just like, holy shit, David Flair died. And yeah, man, it's crazy. I remember him vividly from the WCW angles, though. Him getting his ass kicked in the bathroom by, NWO and shit like that. And it's just like, wow, like,
oh yeah,
full circle, wild shit, man. Never in a million years would I thought I'd been a part of anything like that. Absolutely,
I remember his participation in the WrestleMania 18 build with Taker and Flair. I remember he was on screen and Taker was holding him in the bathroom and he was punching him in the head and he said,
yeah,
I want you in a match. Like, that's what I remember David Flair as, but obviously he was active. He feuded with Raven too. Is that part of what he was doing in WCW in 2001?
Yeah. Wild, right?
Yeah.
Just crazy.
So, like we said, a bad ending to what could have been a promising career. Obviously, it's in his blood. We see, obviously, Charlotte is carrying on the Flair legacy, but David was doing it way before. And, the tragedy unfolded with him with the rest of his life.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to continue to talk about Sting here, and they talked about one of the many reasons they're doing this angle with Sting and the Rafters is his contract. It called for a specified maximum amount of dates in the year, and WCW only had a few dates left, and they needed him for major house shows, so they had to get him off much of television and minor house shows. That's what I call a happy accident here.
Yeah.
It created this lure of Sting, like, oh, where is he? Can't believe he's not here. It really is just them trying to pinch pennies because they want Sting They want to pay him extra. They want him to meet the minimum amount of dates and be available for the bigger shows for them.
Yeah, that's crazy. Was Sting working these house shows, or was he doing the rafters gimmick?
Major house shows. I think the absence is what they were talking about when he was gone for the amount of time. So I think now these count as appearances. But I think before that, when he wasn't even on screen, he left for a bit where he turned his back, all that stuff. I think that was the absence, and that's why they did what they did. And it probably spurred off from there. We heard Scott Hall's story about how he was the guy who told him to put the crow paint on, and the rest is history.
Yeah, crazy.
All right, so this, again, is not a WCW piece of news, but I feel like it's very valuable. We have Vader appearing on Boy Meets World with the match with Jake Roberts from Anaheim on November 15th. Rocking my Vader shirt. He was on my mind. One of my favorite sitcom wrestling appearances ever, seeing Big Van Vader appear on Boy Meets World, like coming home from school watching Boy Meets World, and there's Vader.
It was a trip, man. Second runner up there is The Rock on the 70s show, Rock and Triple H.
Fantastic, yeah.
Yeah, it was good stuff. But I mean, this obviously set the tone for those sitcom appearances, and Vader, fucking amazing job. And of course, it was on Boy Meets World, Topanga. You know, we were having a good time. It was
Mr.
A really
Feeney.
good time. Mr. Feeney, man. Yeah. Damn
so
it,
I can tell a little Mr. Feeney story here quick. He started doing Cameo. He was brand new to Cameo. And one of my good friends, he's the biggest Boy Meets World fan to this day, like loves Boy Meets World. We all chipped in for his cameo, which was pretty expensive for a cameo, but everybody chipped in. He was so ecstatic. This was during COVID when, he's older now. I think Feeney, I forget the actor's actual real name. He's 90 something years old. So like
it's Mr. Feeney.
Yeah, it's Mr. Feeney.
No gimmicks needed. It's just Mr. Feeney.
100%. So let's finish off the newsletter with listener mail about Bret Hart. So I thought this was interesting. Someone wrote into Meltzer. I know we've done this a few times, and I thought this was very, very fascinating. What are your thoughts on listener mail and us talking about it?
I'm here for it. I think it's cool. Kind of runs the realm of the newsletter. We got our listener mail right here for us to listen to and speak on behalf of it. So I like
this
it.
Is like called the Wrestling Observer. Like this is just their words here in print. And who knew this guy? I didn't put his name here. I think he's anonymous. He wanted to be left anonymous.
It's Hawk.
Who knew he'd be appearing 26 years later on our show?
Yeah, it's Hawk. Hawk was, subscribed to the newsletter way back when. He's a diehard.
He just forgot. It was a past life. He smoked way too much weed and it's completely erased from his brain.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, so we have listener mail on Bret Hart. So this is verbatim what someone wrote. For someone with the ambition of movie stardom, Bret Hart has taken one giant step backwards. No matter how superior his wrestling skill is, any WCW wrestler now has more market clout via the connection of Turner and Time Warner. The recent losses in WWF local syndication drastically shrinks Hart's promotional value. In this era, when a veteran actor takes pay cuts to get roles in movies made by major studios, Hart has passed on a perfect sweetheart deal. He could have cashed the giant paycheck and worked with the most influential company, which would have had the more advanced acting career as well in order to raise WCW's crossover audience and boost their return on their big wrestling investment. Years and years before The Rock, they're talking about the connection with the television network with Turner. Bret Hart's acting career wouldn't have worked out anyway. Let's be honest with ourselves. This person couldn't have been more far off. Like WWE eventually had their own movie studio.
Yeah, no, not for better and for worse, obviously, but yeah, like I said, I think we talked about Bret being on TV a little bit, and Calgary, Texas Walker Ranger,
the Denim Cowboy. That was just
Denim Cowboy. That's all I can picture him doing. Like, listen here, Walker, you're gonna have the biggest sharpshooter put on you, okay, from the Hitman. Bret Hart.
So we finished off here. Lindsay Wagner still gets cold congratulations today because 20 years ago, she made Universal TV pay big bucks for her as the Bionic Woman. Regardless of the reasons he chose the World Wrestling Federation, Hart can't be so very greedy for respect from the movie industry if he missed his spot to help Vince McMahon score a clean pin on Ted Turner. This dude doesn't see the bigger picture. And I know he's like inside the moment. It's hard to see. And I'm sure people today have takes. We may even have takes that people look at 26 years later with the benefit of the whole big picture. But it's funny here how far off this guy actually is.
Yeah, no. Listen, man. Not many people got out of the ring to do the outside job to Hollywood, you know. So it's crazy, man. Fucking Bret Hart. I can't picture Bret Hart being in like Titanic. Like, move over, I gotta get on the door.
He's a pro wrestler.
Yeah, he's The Simpsons was the biggest thing Bret Hart did outside of the ring.
All right,
I really think so.
We're gonna move into well, The Simpsons was a cool cameo, but he was Bret Hart the wrestler. Like, I think what's cool about The Rock now, people look at him, he's Dwayne Johnson. And it took a while to get there. People used to see Scorpion King. It's still The Rock in a movie. John Cena is trying to shake that loose as well.
Yeah.
So we now have, Bret Hart. And we see what the picture would have been. He was in WCW only a year later. A year from this moment, he's in WCW. How does acting career work out?
Crazy.
Anonymous writer.
But fun fact about Bret Hart on The Simpsons, he was the first person ever to play himself on The Simpsons. They didn't do that for a long time after he was on, and they didn't do it before he was on. So it's crazy to see how influential Bret Hart was, that even Matt Groening was like, no, you can play it yourself. It's cool. Because he was supposed to be like the Iceman or some shit like that. Like they made a completely different wrestler. He goes, no, I don't want to do that. I'm Bret Hart, Bret the Hitman Hart. And they were just like, yeah, man. Okay, cool. Like you could be Bret Hart and get that old man stench out of this fucking mansion. I'm here to move into Mr. Burns' house. I loved it. I popped so hard when I first seen that.
Was Matt Groening a big wrestling fan, or is it just like a one-off thing? I know you're a big Simpsons guy, so.
Yeah, no. So he had to have been a wrestling fan because there was episodes about wrestling. There was the Bret Hart, cameo, and then later down the line, they came out with the Simpsons wrestling game.
I remember that actually.
Yeah, so there must have been some kind of connection, and I've never heard a story about it. But like, it's insane, absolutely insane.
So, peek behind the curtain, guys. I'm just putting in the scroll here because I forgot to put it in. So I want you guys to be able to see the scroll.
Yeah.
So we're dropping in the scroll. We're going to be talking about everything to do with WCW Nitro from November 4th and also November 11th. So let's get into getting our fix. Let's dive right into it. Can't wait to talk about these 2 episodes of Nitro. Right, here we are, November 4th, 1996. We are here, Grand Rapids, Michigan, the Van Andel Arena, dropping here. We got our results on the bottom. Like I said, we have a lot to unpack. Our current champions are world champion Hollywood Hogan. He won it back on Hog Wild, 8-10-96. Ric Flair somehow holding on to that U.S. title. He can't compete. We all know it. Who's taking the U.S. title? We'll figure that out soon. The World Tag Team Championship, the Outsiders won it back on 10-27 at Halloween Havoc. The TV champion, believe it or not, Steven Regal, he's back from his hiatus out across the country defending his title, a.k.a. sitting on his couch somewhere with the title collecting dust. And the World Cruiserweight Champion, Dean Malenko, our dude, the PWI 1997 Wrestler of the Year, won the title back at Halloween Havoc from our dude, Rey Mysterio Jr., who's involved in all this chaos for AAA. All right, hour number 1, our hosts are Tony Schiavone, Larry Zbyszko. We open up with Sting in the rafters, and the giant Vincent and Ted DiBiase in the crowd looking for him and at him. So more distractions in the crowd. And tonight, WCW starts a tournament to crown the first ever WCW Women's Champion, which there's no way that's true because when they brought Medusa in there, I think they had talked about her being the Women's World Champion, maybe because she was the WWF Women's Champion.
Yeah.
I had to do more research on this, but there's no way she's the first. And this is the first Women's Championship. They had a division.
I think this year in '96 they still had.
We saw a few matches, not for the title, but like on TV.
No, absolutely, and it's just fucking weird, man. It's one of those WCW isms that happened. They were just like, yeah, whatever, we'll rewrite history. I hear Larry Zbyszko's just like, fuck this, we're rewriting it all.
Beautiful championship, by the way, and again, Tony Khan straight from the playbook of Eric Bischoff. The championships debuted by sitting right on the desk of Tony Schiavone and Larry Zbyszko right there. That's how it's debuted. Listen, man, if you want to know how, dive deep into Tony Khan's brain, I know that's a scary place to be, full of White Claws and New Japan Pro Wrestling tapes and
media scrums
and Mindy's Muffins and all that stuff. He draws from WCW 1996. So
absolutely,
it's crazy.
I love it. I'm here for it.
All right, so he also talks about how Eric Bischoff will not be here tonight because he's in Portland, Oregon, trying to get Roddy Piper to sign a match with Hogan. Not sure where Eric Bischoff was. Despite my research, couldn't find exactly where he was. Probably just couldn't make the date. Take the lead here with our opening match with Marcus Bagwell taking on Bret Armstrong. Bret Armstrong, the better looking version. He withstood the test of time. His brother looked awful on Raw. And here we are, Bret Armstrong.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Was not a bad match. Literally, they kicked off the show. Two young dudes. They're just kicking off and they're beating the shit out of each other. A pretty decent match for it being both men. Marcus Bagwell, not the biggest buff Bagwell guy, but like I'm enjoying this pre-buff era. And I mean, we get a really, really good match. Bagwell defeated Bret Armstrong. You got the 1, 2, 3. It was 7 minutes, 27 seconds. I thought it was they really were compatible in the ring. Good dance partners. It flowed really well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think Bret Armstrong, and I know when Chad was on here, he talked about how underrated Bret Armstrong was. There were some good spots here. 7 minutes and 27 seconds of just fluid wrestling. And I mean, at this point, they've hooked up in the ring about 100 times by now, so they should know each other really well. I think we've seen this variation of the matches, and if we're seeing it on Nitro, that means how many times it happened on the live events as well. These guys are perfect dance partners, and nothing wrong with this match, nothing special, but nothing wrong with this match, as you said before.
Yeah, no, it was a good show opener. It was hot. It was fast. It was very collected. It was not a clusterfuck for an opener. It was a good wrestling match.
100%. And moving on to the next match here, not as good. It was about the same amount of time. Diamond Dallas Page taking on the Ice Train, who has Teddy Long in his corner. And we have Ice Train with some new gear here. He had a towel with some sequins on it. And the Outsiders right now are in the crowd, flashing the tag belts. They're trying to get DDP to join the New World Order. It's funny, man, because DDP is such a big part of the anti-NWO movement. What is it, a year later? And they're trying to woo him so far in. It's good storytelling. I like this because of the big part DDP does play in trying to get rid of the NWO and infiltrate them and eventually turns on them. Good storytelling here. And he hits the Diamond Cutter for the win. Decent match. Ice Train's not a good wrestler, so didn't expect much from this. Shockingly pretty good. Diamond Cutter continues to be very, very over.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was great to see him hit it and quit it. Like that's how you got to do it when you're Diamond Dallas Page, baby. Bang.
All right, so we get a WCW Saturday Night commercial. If you guys are watching these Nitros, I recommend sticking with the commercial and watching them. They talk about Lord Steven Regal battling Jim Duggan with the TV title on the line. Harlem Heat taking on the amazing French Canadians. And if, again, don't want to repeat myself, but if Tony Khan is using WCW Saturday Night as a gauge of what Rampage should be, I don't know if Rampage is ever going to get better.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Hopefully, but I mean, who knows? You don't know until it actually gets good. There've been some good Rampages.
For sure. Yeah. I know I'm hard on it, but I'm sure there was some good Saturday nights somewhere down the line.
Maybe. We'll never know because it's just deep down in the annex unless we do a deep dive on, Saturday nights WCWs, which we could. Would not be a bad idea.
They unfortunately don't have 96 on Peacock, despite me looking, because I was like, let me just see what's going on, because I want to see some of these matches, because some of the commercials catch my eye. It's a quick watch. It's like 40-something minutes. They only have until up to 1994. So
terrible. Come on, WWE.
The Mothership, Pay Windows, Clubbering, and Plunder, baby. So take the lead here with the WCW Cruiserweight Championship on the line. Somehow, some way, Scotty Riggs is getting a Cruiserweight Championship match against Dean Malenko. Break this down for me, dude.
Dude, he's so jacked. Like, I don't understand where he's a cruiserweight. Guy's easily 220, if not more. So leaning onto that light heavyweight championship, dude's jacked. But come on, it's our dude Dean Malenko. He ain't playing no games, especially against Scotty Riggs. He beats the piss out of him, as he should. He's the man of 1,000 holds. And that's exactly what he does. He just beats the piss out of him. It wasn't a long match at all because it's Dean Malenko. 3 minutes, 22 seconds. The Iceman a cometh and the Iceman a winneth. It was great. I very, very much enjoyed it. Not the best match on the card, but a fun Dean Malenko kind of moment,
Absolutely. 3 minutes and 22 seconds to be exact. We're getting the hint for the American male split. Obviously, Bagwell was in the opening match. Riggs is here. They're trying to find his space. This Cruiserweight Championship thing reminded me when Matt Hardy was trying to lose weight in 2003 when he was feuding with Rey Mysterio. But they didn't. They just played it off like he was of the weight. There's no way. I don't know what the weight limit is. I think it's under 200. There's zero chance that he's under 200 pounds.
Yeah, I mean, even Malenko could not have been under 200 pounds.
True, he was a very meaty, short guy.
He a thick boy, as the kids like to call it. But man, yeah, wild.
Next match here, we have Chris Benoit taking on Hector Guerrero, and this is the match we talked about in the newsletter, that there was some distractions. It was a really good match, 9 minutes and 51 seconds. There was a commercial break in the middle of the match, which sucked. I mean, there's a different spot you could have put the commercial, so obviously we didn't have to see the commercial, but there was a break in the action, which sucked. Benoit and Hector Guerrero. We remember Hector Guerrero as an older guy later down the line.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's in his prime here, but this dude can go. Match of the night for sure. And the story being told for Benoit to treat Hector just as if he were Eddie after going for the ribs the whole match. Good storytelling. I don't know if Benoit can have a bad match with anybody, but this is a Guerrero we're talking about. Whether it's Hector or Eddie, these two guys link up and hell of a match. Go out of your way to check this out.
Yeah, no, this was really fun and crazy seeing Hector in the ring with Benoit just going at it with each other. Very fun. Very, like, talk about nostalgia. I mean, it doesn't get more nostalgic than that, right? Like, you're watching fucking Hector Guerrero, this old man, he played 2, but Chris Benoit got him. It was great.
So Hector Guerrero has been in WCW before under a different gimmick. He was Lasertron. I'm not sure if you have any... remember? Like, I didn't recognize the name at all.
Absolutely not.
No. It doesn't. Okay. So it didn't resonate with me at all. There was a cool series of events in the end of the match. He tries to hit the Terry Funk roll, gets a near fall, but woman interrupts by pulling on Hector's hair. He goes to yell at her. He gets rolled up by Benoit for the cheap 1, 2, 3. Made Hector look strong here. Didn't look weak by any means, especially as a part-timer here in WCW.
Yeah.
Really put Hector over as the legend he is.
Absolutely. It was awesome. I really enjoyed it.
It was an interesting way to build up towards the Eddie Benoit eventual match we're going to get at World War III.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And like you got to tie in the family, make it meaningful, make it important to get Eddie. I mean, leaning towards Eddie getting the win, obviously. Hopefully. I have no idea. I haven't watched it in 20 something years, so I'm fucking excited for it, man. But yeah, hopefully we get Eddie coming in and laying down the business on Benoit to pay back for his family, because that's what it's all about, familia.
For sure. And Familia moves on to hour number 2, and this time we get Bobby Heenan joining the fray. We get rid of Larry Zbyszko, the curmudgeon he is. Tony Schiavone, Mike Tenay, and Bobby Heenan join us. They flash back last week where Giant was yelling at Jeff Jarrett, building up towards that. Mike Tenay is interviewing Jarrett, Benoit, Woman, Mongo, and Deborah. This is kind of a clusterfuck of an interview, a lot going on.
Yes.
Benoit's interrupting as Jarrett's talking. Tenay, he was asking Tenay to ask the Horseman questions to actual Horseman members. Mongo feels the same way. They're ripping on Jeff Jarrett. All this is going on, and they're talking about Sting with Jeff Jarrett, and Sting is listening from the rafters. They show him as well. A lot to unpack here. Not much being done, but they try to fit so much in one segment. Feel like they accomplished nothing by doing it. Highlighted by just seeing Sting in the rafters, which was cool.
Yeah, and this would be like if you were watching Christian, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus in the ring fucking yelling at each other, and MJF's just chilling in the balcony with his poker chip, and nobody would give a shit about what's going on in the ring. All they care about is the guy that's in the rafters. The guy is chilling, he's doing his thing, but his name is Sting. It's great. It was not a great interview segment, but it was awesome to see Sting with the kind of falling into his character a little bit more.
We saw a variation of the paint. It's more clownish today, with like or mime-ish, I should say, with the actual arrows on his eyes.
Sad mime. He had the black going down in a frown.
He was a sad
around.
mime. Yeah. And you know who would be sad as well? It would be Hawk watching this next match. We have Medusa versus Rana Jabuki in the first round of the Women's Championship match. Interesting fact here to start the match. Rana Jabuki is Akira Hokuto under an elaborate Lucha Libre mask. So Hokuto is a famous New Japan Pro Wrestling woman, so she's wrestling under a mask here. She was also performing in CMLL as this character and held the CMLL Women's Championship. as soon as like 1995. So this was a big deal for her appearing here. Not sure why WCW just isn't having her wrestle under her normal gimmick if she's a big deal. Yeah. Maybe it's because they wanted Medusa to go over. We'll see. But looking at this as well, they break down what's going on with the WCW championship, the women's championship, I should say. Since she did what she did, she was stripped of the belt in CMLL because of her loyalty to WCW and the women's promotion in Japan at the time. Now it's called Stardom. At the time, it was called GAEA, Gaia. So in return, she received 2 slots in the tournament, one here and again as Akira Hakuto. So this match goes 3 minutes and 14 seconds. It's a decent match for the length of time.
Yeah.
Women's wrestling has come such a long way as far as presentation goes. But these guys, women in this match, really went at it to present women in a serious fashion that WWF wasn't doing at the time. So I did appreciate it. But Medusa advances, and we also get the next match later next week, Zero versus Malia Hasaka, and we'll get Medusa versus that person in the semifinals. So
yeah,
no one really cares. You can tell the crowd has no idea what's going on. And nor should they, because they're not conditioned to care.
They didn't have Mike Tenay talking. That's the whole thing. You need Mike Tenay there because he's going to just sell it. It is crazy though that how on the pulse WCW was with women's wrestling when WWF just had like Sunny and Medusa, like there was, or not Medusa, but Marlena. Like there wasn't much going on the women's end on WWF at the time for a while. I mean, late 97, early 98. Like it's insane, and it's refreshing to be in this time frame and see women's wrestling at least be showcased and highlighted in actual wrestling and not, bra and panties bullshit. So, I mean, they were ahead of their time for that Attitude Era women's wrestling shit. It was good. I dug it. Jabuki in a lot of ways, for the win.
Yeah. In a lot of ways, what they're doing here is reminiscent of the 1985, 1984 WWF, where the women's division was looked at as a competitive division. These women weren't wearing scantily clad outfits. They were going out there as competitors. Obviously, WWF moves a long way away from that. You're talking about this time and day. We have Sunny as the flagship woman in the division, and she's not a wrestler. She's a valet. I think she's with the Body Donnas at this time, and she's eventually just at ringside showing off the goods and stuff, and that's what was selling at the time.
Yeah.
Sable replaces her as an in-ring competitor who could go in her own right for the time. But let's be honest, it wasn't about her in-ring action. People were talking about Sable for other reasons.
If it was about her in-ring action, then she wouldn't have been on the cover of Playboy. There's so much old man dirtiness to the whole women's division in WWF going up until like 99. It was a lot. I mean, remember the cat, there was so much shit going on where they were just like, go out there and whip it off for the crowd. Yeah. Sure, it resonated with 13-year-old me. I'm like, fuck yeah, this is great. But like 34-year-old me is like, it's a little shady.
It doesn't age well. And then you also, I think about the turning point had to be the main event of Raw with Trish Stratus versus Lita.
Yeah.
Had to be the moment.
No, absolutely. And it's like, it shows that you can highlight women in the ring doing their thing and killing it. And I think what killed the valet, the whole, women's thing was Mae Young whipping her shit out at the Royal Rumble. And it was like, what the fuck is this? Like,
that's a Vince Russo vehicle. You had to know Vince Russo was like,
listen,
I got an idea, bro.
Okay, you're 80. You're gonna go out there. You're gonna let the dogs out. Everybody's gonna love it. It's gonna be over. I remember when that aired and it was uncensored the first show, and I was like, what the fuck did I just see? It was insane.
Yeah, I mean, point being is that the two of these women and the rest of the women in the tournament could have been a part of the women's division today, and they were ahead of their time. I don't think they get the respect they deserve, and they're buried here on this card, and I feel bad for them, and they're out there. They're getting zero reaction. And again, the crowd is not conditioned to care. They're not. Like, every time the women are in the ring, it's about everything else. And I know we talked about the angles being shot during a lot of matches. In a lot of ways, they're given 3 minutes. It's hard to impress in 3 minutes. They did a good job of it. They did their best they can in 3 minutes, but you really can't do much building the brand of women's division and building women's wrestling when you're only given 3 minutes and 17 seconds over the course of a 2-hour show. And then we're only going to get, I think, 6 or 7 minutes of women's wrestling. I'm not clamoring for it here, but it also was evident there was no priority. So what's the point of even having a championship?
Very true. But again, refreshing to see it at least in a competition manner instead of just like, yo, look at me, I'm here. Ooh,
100%.
yeah.
That's what I appreciate about Medusa and even Rana Jabuki. Like, they went out there and they did their thing, and it's not about how they look. It's not because even there's a piece of the AEW women's division that's similar today. Like, they are about the in-ring action, but it's also still about who looks the best, And
Yeah.
I don't know if we've shaken that from wrestling yet. Like, we look at men's wrestlers. There was a part that they play with looks, and I know this is probably a deeper conversation for maybe a debate.
Yeah.
But like, the men's wrestlers aren't graded on the same scale. Like, so at this time, I think they were ahead of their time. I think we went back in time. For many years, and I think the women's revolution and that whole pay-per-view with, the 4 horsewomen with Charlotte, Bayley, Sasha, and all of them, they changed the game. And
absolutely,
it was already here. The framework was set up by Medusa here.
Yeah, and Medusa was on that card, wasn't she?
She was
the women's revolution. Yeah, so I mean, full circle for her. She was the one fucking holding it down after all these years.
She was.
Crazy.
All right, our next match here, Chris Jericho taking on Wall Street. Talk about this match with me. I mean, this match went really long, double the time the women got, by the way.
Yeah, double the time, less in-ring action, and I swear I never thought I'd see a terrible Jericho match. And you put him in the ring with Mr. Wall Street. You find your bullshit here. This was not a fun watch. This is the skip of the week for me. I was not into it. It was okay, but again, 6 minutes 47 seconds. Thank God Chris Jericho won, because if Mr. Wall Street won, I would have been like, what the fuck am I watching here? But Jericho looks like $1 million, as he always does. The missile dropkick was fan-fucking-tastic. He's still Jericho. He's still doing his thing, but Wall Street, IRS man, brings it down. It's not tax season. Get this guy off my fucking screen. I don't want to see him. Sorry, Bray. Mr. Rotundo is not a fan favorite in the Belcaster family house.
Yeah, and Chris Jericho right now is embroiled in a mini push here. Like, he's protected in a way, and he's lost some matches, but when he's losing, it's done in a way where they're still protecting him, and there's something to that. I think they actually see the potential, which is cool to see. I mean, we all see it. Chris Jericho's charisma is evident, even on the screen when he's this white meat babyface with no character. He's not the Chris Jericho yet that's sitting there and having, the promo time. He's not with Ralphus. He's coming into his own, but you see the raw talent is ready to be molded into the legend he's going to become, and he's on his way.
Yeah, 100%. And like you said, this is not a bad match on Jericho's end. It's just pairing him with Rotundo, who's got to be how old at this point? Jericho's young, white baby face. Just got that heat going for him. And it's just like, why would you do that? It's silly booking, but thank God the aftermath of the match is where Jericho really shines, because Mike Tenay comes out there and he's doing a little interview with that shady, crooked Kenny Powers ref, fucking Nick Patrick. I love it. Like, fuck you, my neck hurts, man. I'll count to 3 for whoever I want, goddammit. And it was a fun, good interview. They had Nick Patrick's attorney out there. They're talking shit. Yeah, he's got that beautiful one-liner. I went to a fight and a hockey game broke out. Talking shit about Ted Irvine, Chris Jericho's dad. This is fun, man. Until fucking Teddy Long comes out. I love Teddy Long. I don't know why I hate him so much here. I don't understand it, but like, he comes out, I despise it. I'm like, fuck this guy. Get him off my screen.
He doesn't fit with the character they're giving him, and he's just at ringside with guys that he doesn't fit with. Like, he's with Ice Train.
Yeah.
He feels like he's missing that edge that he had many years ago. So he is one of the better managers and better personalities in wrestling. One of the better referees in WWF later in his career. He's missing whatever here. I agree with you.
He's missing the Undertaker.
Like, get out of here.
That's what it is. He can't go out there and be like, you go one-on-one with the Undertaker. Like, that's what he's missing. It's his tag partner, the Undertaker, the good guy.
All right, so we have the main event here, which is kind of, it reminds me of an older version of Nitro, like 2001. This could have been our main event. Lex Luger taking on Booker T not with Sister Sherry, but Luger and Booker T could have been right there in 2000, 2001 at one of the final matches of Nitro. This is a rematch from last week after Luger lost via countout because he saw Sting, like he saw a ghost. Match goes back and forth. 5 minutes and 55 seconds. Lex Luger gets the win with a schoolboy 1, 2, 3. Parker
Terrible.
cost Booker another big time victory. We're seeing the split, the rift between Sister Sherry, Colonel Parker. Get them off our screen. Booker T deserves bigger and better things than this. Get them the hell out of here.
It's funny because we clamor for good managers nowadays in our era of wrestling right now in 2022, but 1996 is complete the opposite. They have the worst fucking talent for managers. And no offense to Teddy Long, but like this Colonel Parker shit, the Sherry shit, get it off my screen. It's over. It ended early 96. I don't need to see it anymore. Like they did their wedding scheme. Put it down after that. Let's move into the era of fucking good pro wrestling. Hate it.
Yeah, he's supposed to be this like bigwig Texan investor with all the exaggerated features of the cigar and the money clip and the freaking hat. It doesn't fit Booker T and Harlem Heat. Like,
no, I mean,
like
no, not at all.
It's not good.
Foghorn Leghorn should not be on TV going, boy, I said, boy, you get in there and you whoop his ass.
Horrible.
It's terrible. Absolutely terrible.
So we get a phone call from Eric Bischoff talking about what's going on. He says the talks between him and Roddy Piper are going well, but unfortunately the agents won't allow him to sign for the match. He'll personally be talking with Roddy Piper live next Tuesday in Toronto on the set of his latest movie to hopefully strike a deal. They do a replay of the Piper Hogan confrontation. Probably how many times, dude, at this point? 75?
Yeah.
Come on. So we see the same thing from last week as Hogan, DiBiase, Vince, and the Giant will head to the ring. Take the lead here on the segment. Talk us through it.
Yeah, man. So we get through it. Hogan comes out with the gang, the clique, his clique. Hogan gets, turn the lights down, brother. Put the spotlight on me. Make me feel like a real big deal, dude. And he starts plugging his new movie, Santa with Muscles. Brother, let me tell you, you want presents? I'm bringing you the greatest presents in the world. That's Hollywood Hulk Hogan, dude. So they show a clip of him as a mall Santa beating up some fucking goons. It's really hokey, terrible. Not as bad as Three Ninjas, so at least there's that. Yeah, he's sitting there. He's just blowing his shit. He's like, "Yo, Ted Turner, brother, put me up for the Cable Ace Award. Let me tell you what I need." And they eventually show it next week. It's hysterical, but he's the guy. He's just saying he is the hottest. Come on, he's the icon. He is the man. The reason why TNT is all over the map, brother, is because Hollywood Hogan's here doing the dude with the NWO. And it was, I mean, I don't know. It was. I did like the aesthetics of shutting the lights down, putting the spotlight on Hogan. Like, it made the arena pop. It made the segment pop, but it was a shitty segment to make pop. And probably one of the worst endings of a Nitro I think we've had this whole year.
I felt like Piper was coming out. As I was watching this, I was waiting for him to come out to the crowd, and it just ended with him saying, Roddy Piper's too scared to wrestle me. And he never came out. So
yeah,
that's it. We get the hype for World War III. We'll go through the card on the next at the end of the next Nitro because I want to break that down as well. So we're going to move over to the November 11th, 1996 Nitro from St. Petersburg, Florida, the Bayfront Center. They've been here a few times for Nitro. This is a familiar setting. Kind of a fan of them going here in Tampa. This is a very friendly WCW crowd. They love running Florida.
Yeah, hot, very hot. Wild, ready to roll.
Ready to roll. All our champs are the same. No reason to go through it. And our host to start the show, Tony Schiavone, Larry Zbyszko. And we go back to last week where Benoit and Mongo were talking about Jeff Jarrett, and they didn't want him acting like he's in the Horsemen. And then they show the highlight of Jarrett saying Sting dropped the ball and not being the leader for WCW. Sting was watching from the rafters, and he did not appear too happy when Jarrett said that. And we all know Jarrett needs to shut up or Sting's going to make him. We have the opening match here. Jarrett is involved, taking on Chris Benoit in a battle of Horseman personalities.
Yeah. Listen, man, you got, which, I mean, should have been a decent match. It wasn't terrible. They're going back and forth. I can't stand how bad they're booking Jeff Jarrett to be the next Nature Boy. Like, it's just, it's overwhelming, it's just too much. It's like pushing Roman Reigns. It's just they're shoving it down your throat at this point. Just ridiculous. Sting comes out, thank God. Jumps the rail. fucking hits
Sting.
It's Sting, and he hits Jeff Jarrett with that Scorpion Death Drop, and I would replay it and go back to the left and back and to the left over and over again. It was great, but the ref sees it all. DQs Benoit. It was 6 minutes, 35 seconds too long. And I don't know. Jeff Jarrett should shut up, but I don't think it's going to make him shut up. I think he's just going to be he talks his whole way through TNA. This thing, they're still fighting 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, beating the shit out of each other. It's ridiculous.
Yep. So
Fuck
we get a
Jeff
DQ finish here, so we do got to take a shot of nostalgia. If you have a liquor with you, I do myself. I know we're not feeling well, but like I said, hair of the dog will make you feel better.
Little vodka and cranberry make it work, right?
Let's get it going over here. DQ finish, Jarrett getting the win over Benoit. That's the only way Jarrett's beating Benoit.
Yeah, only way Jeff Jarrett's beating Benoit. It was good. Like I said, it wasn't a bad match, but get Double J off my screen, baby. All day long.
All right, so we get a weird segment following this match. Right after the break, a guy who looked like Stevie Richards, let's be honest, he had long hair, short shorts, jumps over the rail. He hands Tony Schiavone a package. Not a FedEx package. It's like a cardboard box with whatever in it. And he frantically tells Tony Schiavone, there's a tape in here. You need to show this on TV. He gets away from WCW security and gives Tony the package before he's carried off. Tony actually opens the package. This is real. Like, why would you ever open the package? Reads the note inside, and that tells WCW to watch the tape. And it says, it was played in Europe in 1992 and was a hit. Piper wants Hogan. Play it. You'll see what I mean. So, obviously, this is a bad precedent to set. If you want something played on the air, hop the barricade, hand it to the announcers. Yeah. Bobby Heenan, I'm sure, is not happy about this.
No, Bobby Heenan's like, get the fuck away from me. Tony Schiavone's just like, okay, pal, like, let's put it up there. Let's see what's going on. Weird. Very weird.
It was an interesting segment for sure, and I like that they're building suspense towards Piper, and this is the way you got to do. If he's not showing up on your screen, you got to find other ways to build up towards the match, and we see them doing that with Brock Lesnar, and back when Taker wasn't appearing every night, even when The Rock, when Cena built up that whole match without The Rock there, pretty much. So we check in with Ric Flair as he's working with Doc Andrews, as I mentioned, down in Birmingham, Alabama, check on his rotator cuff. And like I mentioned, Doc Andrews, the fact that they're working on this makes me believe that, Ric Flair's recovery is going to be a little bit quicker than they probably anticipated. Yeah. They're showing all the process, which is cool. I remember they did the Triple H thing back in the day, showing his whole, we will rebuild the game.
Turner did it first. Bischoff did it first, man. You got to call it as it is.
All right, we have another first round matchup for the Women's Championship tournament. Zero coming out to the ring with Sonny Ono, defeating Malia Hasaka. So Hasaka, if you watch her, she has a boo-boo face on. She's not happy to be here. You knew she was losing. If you've been watching wrestling for a long time, her body language said she was losing. Zero is a legendary Joshi wrestler, Chigoza Nagayo. So if you're familiar with Japanese wrestling people, you would know who she is. If not, she's a great wrestler. WCW repackaged, similar to what they did the week before. So Zero sells Zero of Hasaka's offense. Match goes on 1:42. Zero goes on to face Medusa in a match that was actually taped before this episode of Nitro. So we already know the ending if you were looking at the dirt sheets, but you won't see that match or anything else from the tournament here on Nitro. And the finals would eventually come at Starrcade. So they kind of pulled the plug on this very quickly. They're like, I guess we're done.
House show. It's a house show tournament. That's what we'll call it that.
So, like I said, Splash Mountain gives Zero the win. Yeah, not much about anything here. So there's a lot of history and legacy in women's wrestling in Japan here, but they don't really go through it for you.
Short and not sweet. That's how that went. Yeah, man. Weird. But I mean, it's that's the thing. They go so far to plan this tournament, and then 2 matches in, they're like, fuck it, Starrcade, just throw it on Star. We got bigger shit to worry about. Put Sting in the rafters. Like, we'll just show him during the women's matches. No big deal. It's all good. It's all gravy, baby.
I guess what was really telling is Nick Patrick was the biggest star of this match. Like, they kept showing Nick Patrick and talking about his history with the NWO, and so that's all you really need to know about how they view women's wrestling.
That slime ball prick Nick Patrick.
So we get the return of Gene Okerlund, which is the first time we're seeing him since his contract dispute. He's back. and they act like he never left. He questions DDP as to whether or not the NWO are trying to get him to join, since he helped him beat Ice Train last week. DDP goes into the history between himself and the Outsiders, and what do you know? Here comes Hall and Nash. Come on down. They give him a chance to join up, but DDP's offended that he'd be their number 8 pick. Nash says Page doesn't help understand the politics of the situation because he lives 2 houses down from Bischoff. If Diamond Dallas Page doesn't understand, he's never going to get it. But DDP said he wouldn't join. He didn't say he wouldn't join the NWO, leaves it out there, mulling over the thought. We know he, again, the biggest babyface. So glad he didn't join. I think it would have been the worst thing ever to have him join here in 1996.
Yeah, no, listen, he might be the most flexible pro wrestler in the business, but he does not fit the shape of a number 8. Okay, he's Diamond Dallas Page, brother. I thought this was a really fun segment. I liked that Nash and Hall popped up. I liked that they went to the history. Like, yeah, I used to manage, Scott Hall back in the day, and I used to tag team with Kevin Nash. It was cool. It was good that they didn't just shy away from that. Mm-hmm. But I mean, fucking good for DDP, man. Listen, bro, stick it where the sun don't shine and do some downward dog and get the diamond cutter. I loved it. It was fun, man. Yeah, it was good.
All right, so we get another Saturday night commercial, and then we have Rey Mysterio taking on Ciclope, which is an awesome match. Just want to mention on Peacock, they dub out the Pearl Jam Even Flow theme for Ciclope, but they did apparently pay for it for TNT on the day. This match, decent amount of time. Want to go through it for us?
Yeah, man. Listen, this one of the better matches of the night. You got Rey Mysterio versus as Zabisco says, it's Cyclops. It's Le Cyclops. And Tony Schiavone's like, no, just shut the fuck up. But both men beating the piss out of each other. Rey did that crazy, I guess it's a frontward Hurricane Rana off the apron. You know what I'm talking about? That was insane. I do, yeah. And it looked like it killed both guys. Loved it. Ray's rocking that fucking Spider-Man gear. Couldn't have looked better. We get Dean Malenko comes out in the middle of the match, just standing, looking like a pirate with that striped shirt on the walkway, just doing his thing. And then Psychosis comes out behind him, and the announcers keep like teasing, like, "Oh, he knows he's behind him. Look at his eyes." And like he doesn't turn around once. He's just like, the fuck is going on? And Psychosis looks like a dad at a flea market wearing a lucha mask. He's got his shirt tucked in, fucking white shirt, blue jeans. He's just sitting there with his arms on his waist, like, you guys doing construction on the front of the block, bro?
So we did have Ultimo Dragon also sitting at ringside with Sonny Ono.
Fuck, man. Like,
that was cool as well.
The King of Kings. Everybody was out there. It was great. Ray hits that springboard Hurricane Rana, hits that 1, 2, 3, 5. It felt like a longer match, which is a good thing, not in a bad way. It was a good, lucha match. It was fun. What is it? Cyclope? Cyclope was. I thought it was like Mikey Whipwreck and Lucha Gear at first. Like I was trying to figure it out, and no fucking clue.
Same dude that was wrestling in AAA under the gimmick, allegedly. I did my research trying to type it in and see if it was someone else, because a lot of times these luchas will be given the mask and they can work the gimmick elsewhere. They get the rights to the gimmick, but here, allegedly, this is the real Ciclope doing this.
Wild. So, like I said, 5 minutes, 59 seconds, just a second shy for that 6-minute mark, but a great match. 1, 2, 3. It was good. Brought a lot of stuff. Dean turns around. He's staring at Psychosis. He's like, "Fuck you, man. I'm the man of 1,000 holds." Psychosis is like, see. Like he's got no fucking idea what he's talking about. It was good. It was a really fun little program here, tying up some loose ends.
I have to go back and watch to see if the light heavyweight championship's in this shot. So I got to go back and check it out to see if he's holding that belt out of the 8 belts he's holding. He makes it clear he wants the Cruiserweight Championship from Dean Malenko. We're going to get that match. It's going to be awesome.
Absolutely. He at least had 2 NWA titles. I know that for sure. He was just holding on. They're just there. They're painted silver. Like Triple H just stole them from NWA and just spray painted them. Like, it's our championship.
So they go through how somebody vandalized the WCW website. And this is a funny segment because this probably looks so high tech in 1996. The dial-up modem, Netscape. Man, dude, horrible. Like, how much has grown as far as the internet in 26 years?
We're doing a fucking podcast right now in real time on the internet, and these guys had to go. You couldn't be on the phone at the same
is true.
time while being
100%
online.
true.
And if somebody called, it would disrupt your internet connection. What kind of shit is that? We ain't got time for that here in 2022, man.
Yeah, no HollerNet. Worse than HollerNet. It's dial.
Yeah, that was the original HollerNet.
So true. But it was like the staple. If that was actually what you achieved, you're like, internet is sick right now. It took about 10 minutes to download this picture.
Oh my goodness.
Kaza or
Remember
Napster.
downloading, if they weren't even JPEGs, they were like
Yeah.
something else, something completely different. And it took like 3 hours to do anything.
Download
on
the South
computer.
Park wrestlers. I had a folder on my computer with all the South Park wrestlers in the 90s.
That wouldn't fit on a floppy disk back then. And now you can
some
get
reason,
a
yeah.
fucking thumb drive that holds everything in the world in one little thing. It's insanity, man. Good shit, though.
So this next segment is so funny. I actually texted you earlier about this segment. We get Hall, Nash, and Six coming out to bother Tony and Larry Zbyszko. And they said they're going to be at the Cable ACE Awards the Saturday night. It airs the same time as WCW programming, so I'm not sure why they're even mentioning it. And now they talk about how they want the New World Order to take over Nitro instead of just Saturday night. The one thing that Nash does say that pops me huge, he says, Larry, does that outfit come with a cup of soup? Like, I don't know what it means, but it's so fun.
Tony Schiavone turns. You see him do the hand in front of the face, cracking up. Xbox cracking up. Scott Hall sitting there like, "Goddamn kid, that was good." It was really. This is where Kevin Nash shines, you know.
Dude,
and
so funny. The one-off comments are just perfect. Like when he's just he's being witty. It's not scripted. You can just tell he's going into business where he's just like, "This would be funny." Pop me huge. Zbyszko was not amused. He seemed shoot pissed. Like he seemed
It was fun, man. He's an ornery motherfucker, that Larry Zbyszko, but for good reasons. I mean, you had these bad guys coming over, telling me to take over their show, kick them off the commentary booth. I'd be mad about it. They tried to take it down.
All right, so we have hour number 2 starting, and we replace that salty, that curmudgeon Larry Zbyszko. He goes into the back. We get Eric Bischoff, Mike Tenay, and Bobby Heenan.
He went to go get soup.
He went to get soup. He's wearing this. He's wearing the outfit. He's like, I was supposed to get a cup of soup with this shirt.
Yeah, it's a French onion. I ordered the French onion for catering.
Cheese on the side, please. Thank you. All right, we have Lex Luger versus Scott Norton here. This is a short match again, 6 minutes and 17 seconds. You know the ending. Lex Luger wins with the torture rack. After the match, Luger needs Sting to come back and be the leader of WCW. This is what he says, because now the New World Order wants their own show. It's more than he can handle, Stinger.
It's the top of the mountain. They want their own show. No, we can't have Sting. Please come back. Save Nitro so NWO doesn't do the takeover.
Luger's the one that started this too. So
yeah, what a prick.
Yeah. So match was decent. Like I said, I mean, typical Lex Luger match. By the way, I mentioned off air to you, Scott Norton's going to be at an autograph signing nearby next month, about a day after our final episode of Shot Nostalgia. If I happen to go, I'm definitely going to go meet Scott Norton, give him some Shot Nostalgia stickers. Say what up.
Yeah, you have to. One of the everlasting members of the NWO, Scott Norton. You know, he had cool gear. Didn't he team with Bagwell for a while?
He did. Yes.
Yeah, they had the brick gear. I've loved that. Buff Bagwell got a figure. Scott Norton never got a fucking toy. How much bullshit is that?
Oh wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, isn't that so random and lame? They should have made 2 packs. I would have loved
sure.
Buff
I don't understand. He was on TV for a long time.
Always. He was one of the only guys that was on TV all the time in the NWO.
All right, so we're going to skip over the On the Road with Lee Marshall stuff. Who cares about this? Next match here, Amazing French Canadians taking on Harlem Heat in a tag match, rematch from Saturday night, which ended with a wacky DQ. So talk about this match.
Listen, man, Amazing French Canadians looking fabulous. Out there with fucking Colonel Parker and Sherry. You know, shenanigans are going down. Goofy shit. I don't know. This was the skipper for me. A second I see Colonel Parker come out, I'm already fucking hot. And the fact that Harlem Heat comes out with Sherry, I'm done. I wash my hands. I don't want anything to do with it. But it's a DQ as always. The amazing French Canadians get the win because of shenanigans, of course. Shenanigans are always the culprit here. When Sherry and Colonel Parker are out there, they're fucking gross. I don't like it.
We get a Nasty Boys appearance. We get a Brutus Beefcake appearance. Not sure exactly if he's what gimmick he's going by. They didn't make it clear because, again, this is weird in the 90s. They never really make an announcement. Like, we can assume it's a no contest. We can assume it's a DQ. Nobody really cared except us. Like, I need to know for record keeping it's a DQ or no contest. Either way, we got to take a shot of nostalgia to commemorate this DQ finish. So let's take a shot for this match that wasn't great.
That is hopefully the last time. We keep saying, I hope it's the last time we see Colonel Parker, but he keeps popping up out of nowhere. Little fucker.
Well, I hope you have that drink handy because we have another match here. Chris Jericho taking on Conan, which on paper looks like a great match, but match goes 5 minutes and 18 seconds. But to open the match, Conan coming out, he has that new look that we talked about all these weeks ago. He's carrying what looks to be the 1992, 1993, 94 WCW TV belt disguised as some kind of Mexican championship. So
he lost rights to carry the Mexico championship.
So, yeah.
I mean, I don't know what happened, man. It was a decent match. Wasn't the worst match, but it was clunky. Very clunky for the two guys that are in the ring. I thought Jericho and Conan had great chemistry, but of course, Conan hits that drop kick. Fucking Jericho bumps into Nick Patrick barely. Nick Patrick's like, God damn it, fucking son of a bitch, you fucking DQ your ass. You're working at Tits and Tots now, you fucking piece of shit. Get all the fixins. And so we got a DQ. And Jericho was like, what the fuck just happened?
Jericho was hot. He was all over Nick Patrick, who was in his face. And there's a lot of passion we saw from Chris Jericho. Probably the more edgier side of Jericho that we've seen on 1996 WCW.
Yeah, absolutely. So to shot time for that one. But, I mean, my shot goes out to Chris Jericho, who just kind of got screwed over royally here.
That is true. Nick Patrick's out to get him. All these years later.
Shit. Slime ball motherfucker.
Did you say slime ball? Make sure you guys check out Visit the Tavern Slime Balls at New York Wrestling Connection from last Sunday. Great guys.
Right here at the Turnbuckle Tavern.
Right here at the Turnbuckle Tavern. All right, our next match here, Miguel Perez Jr. taking on Juventud Guerrero. So, Miguel Perez Jr., this is the first time we're seeing him in 1996. You may recognize him as the guy from the Los Barricos stable in WWF. So, Tanay gives us a little background on him. On Miguel Perez Sr., his father, who's responsible for bringing Antonio Roca to the States, continues to talk about since he's been in the business forever. Heenan can confirm the comment and does so. Match goes 3 minutes and 56 seconds. Miguel Perez Jr. gets the win over Juvi here. Crowd didn't give a shit. To me, it was jam-packed for 4 minutes of wrestling. If this was a tryout to get Miguel Perez Jr. on TV for an extended period of time, this was a good thing. I mean, sucks for WCW. Perez would be disappearing and debuting in WWF to be stuck in that Barriquas gimmick. And the rest is history. He's forgotten. So, but this was a decent match. This is, I guess, a masterclass of taking 4 minutes and making it mean something. These guys went out there and killed it.
No, absolutely. The only thing that threw me off was like they cut the commercial after the Jericho match and they basically just jumped right into this. Guys were fucking wrestling. You know, it was like, oh, okay. Like I was very confused and fucking, but it was like you said, it was for under 4 minutes. You can't get a better match than this for under 4 minutes. Like this was really good. It was fucking great. But nobody gave a shit. We gave a shit. I was there. Pepperidge Farm
I cared. And I mean, one of the cooler spots, Perez was in the ring and gave Juvi a space flying tiger drop. And Juvi avoided a tornado DDT, hit a springboard drop kick, goes for the 450 splash. Perez gets it caught in a torso roll for the quick 1-2-3. Again, moved super fast. If you blinked, you missed the whole match. But they made the most of 4 minutes. Well, it's 3 minutes and 56 seconds. It was a lot to pack into a small amount of time.
No, absolutely. And like just both guys, Juventud is such a fucking great wrestler. Perez as well. It was solid. If they had 15 minutes out there, they would have tore the house down easily.
Absolutely.
Yeah, ridiculous though.
It makes me think like what happens if Perez would have stayed with WCW, because when it's Los Barricos, he gets buried like in that stable. It gets buried in the 90s WWF. Like the same thing with DOA, the Godwins.
I forgot all about
Darby
DOA.
Clark, the Truth Commission, all that shit was going on. Like,
I have DOA figures. Shit. I don't know how DOA got fucking figures, but I have DOA figures. Weird.
They were doing the Taker gimmick before Taker was doing the gimmick.
Yeah, man. They literally used Stone Cold's head for 8-Ball.
That is
true.
They
just put him on a fucking a vest and pair of jeans. What? God damn.
Man. I could care less about like all those stables as a kid. Like the mid card usually is what really drives the programming.
Yeah.
During Attitude Era, some of that stuff was brutal to watch. I remember DOA was turn the TV away, not giving a shit at all.
Yeah. No, I mean, who remembers DOA now? It's nobody. Nobody gives a fuck.
Yeah.
I forgot until you just brought it up.
All right. So we have DiBiase and Vincent are out where Sting was earlier watching the Luger Norton match, and they're looking for him, trying to give him a New World Order shirt. We have a Faces of Fear main event that I want you to go into.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So we get the Faces of Fear versus none other than the American Males. Yeah. Guess what? This is a good Faces of Fear match.
R.I.P. American Males. There's no way they're coming out of this alive.
No, absolutely. Token death grips, fucking head chops, you name it. They were beating the piss out of them, and the Faces of Fear get the absolute triumph because they hit that kick of fear, and Barbarian goes for the cover, gets that 1, 2, 3 in another short but sweet match, 3 minutes 35 seconds.
Still counts. Main event. Face of Fear, the main event.
I enjoyed it, man. I really did. And the Face of Fear, they main evented a lot the last couple weeks.
I love it
in a good way. I'm here for it all fucking day long. It was good. Bagwell, Riggs looked great together, man, and it was actually it was a decent outing on their part.
Yeah, and the rift is there for the American Males. They're on their way out, and they're arguing to the back while Jimmy Hart is making a plea for Face of Fear to get into a triangle match with the Outsiders and the Nasty Boys for the tag belts at World War III. I don't know what we eventually get. We'll go through the card in a little bit. Yeah. I think they are not involved in the World War III, but they're deserving of a tag title shot and also a tag title run. If Public Enemy got one, what are we doing? These guys need a title run.
Yeah, what do we do?
All right, so we continue to do that whole stuff with the Nasty Boys, and they want the Face of Fear to bring the tag belts back to WCW where they belong. We have our main event segment here, which is what much anticipated Roddy Piper music video. I'm Your Man, and it's a Huey Lewis type of song with Piper trying to woo this girl that he's like trying to date. It's a weird music video that they're doing.
A babyface Piper.
Yeah.
Very, very clean shaven. Doesn't have the beautiful long locks like we just seen him at Halloween Havoc.
And the video is dated October 1992, which means Piper has been wanting this match for about 4 years now. This is the video that was delivered to Tony Schiavone by that Stevie Richard looking fan. And after this happens, we get the New World Order led out by Hogan. Liz is wearing a sexy Santa outfit to help promote Santa with muscles. Take the lead here as we get Hogan under the spotlight again.
Made no sense, but in all the Hollywood Sinatra manner, the lights go out in the crowd, the spotlight hits Hulk Hogan, brother, and they're just sitting there talking shit again because he's like, Rowdy Piper's a scared little boy, and Hogan's just he's giving it what they do. They're doing what Hogan's doing. He's just like, yo man, fuck this guy. I'm here. I'm calling him out. It's ridiculous, man. It very, very ridiculous, and it ends with Hogan just doing his Hulkamania poses in the ring, brother, doing his thing, brother. And the best part about this segment was Elizabeth rocking that Mrs. Claus costume to all of her glory.
A little early for Christmas, but Santa with muscles, it's right there. And just right so you know, same exact year that Space Jam came out, they came out within weeks of each other. It got trounced by Space Jam.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
I mean, it's Michael Jordan and freaking Bugs Bunny, like Hogan with muscles.
What's up, Doc? You don't fuck with the bugs, man.
Surprising they didn't go with the low-hanging fruit, making fun of the Piper music video. I'm shocked. Like, how did they not at least make fun of it? Because it was a little bit on the embarrassing side.
Hogan was jamming. He was playing bass backstage. He was like,
yeah, exactly. Hogan was doing the MTV with Rockin' Wrestling Connection thing. I love it, brother. I respect everything Piper's doing in that video.
Yeah. Didn't know Piper had the pipes, man. This is good.
So that's how we go off the air, and we get the World War III go-home show ending like that. We have our main event, the 60-man Battle Royal. Winner gets the next WCW World title shot. They didn't say where. We know it's going to be at Starrcade. The WCW World Tag Team Champions, the Outsiders versus the Nasty Boys, the Giant versus Jeff Jarrett in a grudge match, the Cruiserweight Championship on the line, Dean Malenko versus Psychosis, Harlem Heat taking on the Amazing French Canadians yet again. 2 DQs. Hopefully you don't get another one. Sister Sherry wrestling Colonel Robert Parker, which is the bathroom break match. And we also have this very underrated match here in WCW history. the J Crown Championships on the line here. Ultimo Dragon versus Rey Mysterio Jr. I'm very much looking forward to seeing him competing in a WCW ring with that on the line.
Absolutely. I'm right there with you.
Very, very progressive of Eric Bischoff and WCW to allow other titles to be featured. And I understand that Conan's not holding the real Mexican championship. As we talked about, it's just a repurposed version of the television championship.
What? No.
But the idea is still there that other championships are out there and it means something. That's something Vince would have never done. Maybe Triple H will think about it a little bit differently.
Hey, maybe we'll see Carl Anderson defeating that New Japan title on a WWE pay-per-view. Be damned, brother.
Well, we saw New Japan Pro Wrestling retweeting WWE, so there might be some, if there's smoke, there's fire, and we get a relationship. We with Switchblade retweeting WWE and talking about how the Bullet Club's in WWE.
The irony.
Who knows, man? We'll see what happens with it. I understand that there's a history with New Japan Pro Wrestling and WWE way back. Vince Sr., even Vince Jr. was involved, they let Hogan go over there and Andre back in the day, and there was a huge history. They moved away from it, but I know Triple H has respect for the business and figures out a different way of thinking. As much as people want to talk about how it's an impossibility, I really think it's a possibility that we could be seeing a relationship, at least on the surface. I know that we had that Cruiserweight Classic. They had Kota Ibushi over here on the network. I think we may see things more meaningful. I'm not saying we're going to get Okada versus Roman Reigns, but I think we could be seeing some exchange of talent. Like maybe seeing Chad Gable go over to New Japan Pro Wrestling would be really cool.
It would be cool. I'd be here for something like that. Very interesting, though. It just really is. It's wild.
All right, let's go into the chaser, talk about our favorite part of the 2 nights of Nitro, give our final finishing touches on what we thought about these 2 episodes. All right, here we are with the chaser. Every week we'll pick our favorite part, match, segment, whatever, of these 2 episodes of Nitro. Mike Belcaster, lead the way. Tell me what you like best about these episodes.
Man, not the worst episodes of Nitro, not the best, but I will give it to Miguel Perez Jr. versus Juventud Guerrero. Even though Perez has more hair in his body than an 80-year-old man in the YMCA bathroom showers, but I mean, it was a sight to see, and he was looking like a Puerto Rican Kurt Angle out there, even with all the fuzz, the carpet on the shoulders and back. But yeah, man, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that this was the match of both 2 weeks, but it was a fucking good match, so I'll give it that.
My favorite moment is more of the same vein. It's Chris Benoit versus Hector Guerrero, and I think that's more commentary of how it ended. The main angle, they're trying to drive home that Piper-Hogan feud, and it's hard to do without Piper there, and I understand he has limited dates. We were left wanting more. I mean, Nitro's been killing it as far as how they end the night. Very anticlimactic endings to the 2 episodes of Nitro, especially a go-home show. With the 60-man Battle Royal, we got no hints towards the Battle Royal. We didn't get people being thrown over the top rope. There wasn't this, what's going to happen with all these rings? Really nothing. If I didn't watch this on a satellite here on an island, I wouldn't know this is the go-home show for World War III.
No, not at all. There was no direction for that at all. But even more so, both episodes, no direction whatsoever. So, I mean, all we got was Hogan in the spotlight, talking shit about Piper. What a Santa Claus is coming to town, brother. That's all we got. So it was more of a go home show for what was the name of the movie? Santa with Muscles. That's what it was. So interesting, very interesting.
All right. With that being said, let's close the tab. The lights are coming on here at the bar. We got to talk about everything going on in the tavern. Do some hyping. We'll get out of here to start our weekends. All right, so as I mentioned, we're here to close the tab. Mike Belcaster, give me everything going on in the tavern. What's going on Fig Night, Mike Belcaster world, anything you want people to know about?
Yeah, man, next week at the tavern is going to be a little chaotic because we got Dynamite on a Tuesday, so the wrap-up's going to be moved to Tuesday night, hopefully not interfering with the long ball schedule. I don't know yet. We haven't really discussed it. We're working out the kinks of it. Maybe Fig Night might be on Monday. I don't know yet. We're still dabbling deep. We got to figure some shit out, but that's the consensus here. Okay, we get thrown a curveball from Tony Khan, and goddamn, whatever reason they had to move off Wednesday night. Was it playoffs
Westminster
or something?
Dog Show. I don't know.
Yeah, it's the puppy
the Wimbledon.
The Wimbledon Puppy Battle Royal. But yeah, we're gonna have a rearranged schedule next week. Back to normal shit the next week. Just stay tuned. Stay tuned. Click that bell. You know, that little bell. Click the bell for Mike Belcaster, will ya? And get your notifications on so that way you could be live with us here, because we love you guys. We want you to be here. We appreciate y'all being here. And yeah, that's about all we got. We got the debate on Monday dropping. We got broken VCR this Sunday. No sessions this week. We're working out some kinks. Rolling out the dough.
Episode 101 of the debate, moving strong. And I know Hawk is on the show. Can't wait to see what he brings to the table. His debut on the debate. As far as the Ace of the Tavern goes, been hyping it up for a while now. Tomorrow night, October 15th, Saturday night at the Pro Game Athletic Center in Bayshore, New York, Victory Pro Wrestling presents the 2022 Gold Rush Rumble. 20 competitors, 1 winner. I will have a table giving out stickers. Like I mentioned before, Shot Nostalgia stickers, Turnbuckle Tavern stickers, giving out keychains, not selling anything. You'll just look out for the sign, come say hi to me, film some content, whatever you guys want to do. I'm there for the whole show, enjoying what is going to be a great night of wrestling, because Victory Pro Wrestling doesn't miss. And speaking of Victory Pro Wrestling, Sunday visits the tavern. I'll be having the big boofa Desmond Cole following the debate. He'll be on Visits the Tavern. It will be airing the night after he wrestles at the Gold Rush Rumble. So we won't know the results of what happens on Saturday, but we will talk about the upcoming match that I'll talk about in 1 second. A lot to talk about. He's involved in Limitless Wrestling. He's at Creative Pro. He's also here at VPW, and he's at Remarkable Wrestling, an up-and-coming star. It's going to be a great conversation. If you missed the conversation I had with NYWC Slime Balls, go back and check that out. I got some great feedback. Those dudes are awesome. Looking to film some in-person content with them as well, because they are more local than I thought. I mean, we could have recorded in person. Both those dudes live pretty close to me, so we're planning on meeting at a local pizza joint. And when they win those tag team titles, whether it be later this year, a year down the line, 2 years, we're going to be meeting at Coliseo Pizza in Port Jefferson, Long Island. We're going to be enjoying a slice with those tag titles to celebrate with the Slime Balls, my new favorite tag team. And then finally here, let's talk about it. This is next Friday, October 21st, NYWC Sportatorium. I mentioned Desmond Cole, Halloween Haunted Havoc. He'll be getting a World Championships shot against Gabriel Sky for the world title. Bell times at 8 p.m. You can buy tickets at the door. You get front row tickets if you want, $35. But buy your tickets in advance.
$35?
Yeah,
I spent more on McDonald's, for God's sake. So that is a fucking steal.
And you guys can hang out with me. I will be doing the ring announcing my debut for Remarkable Wrestling, so you guys can check that out. Looking forward to working with them. A bunch of great guys and great wrestling. I'm looking forward to being part of that fold and enjoying some wrestling up close in action. And you guys should do the same, because as I always say, support independent wrestling. It is the lifeblood of the pro wrestling industry. All your favorites that you enjoy went through that pipeline, whether you're talking about Seth Rollins or Kevin Owens, those guys, Kenny Omega, who else? The Young Bucks.
All of them. Everybody. Every single person ran through some indies.
It's very rare, unless you're Kurt Angle. You don't go through most guys go through the indies and earn their stripes and figure it out. So you get to see these guys as the stars prior to being on the big stage, and you get to meet them and enjoy their craft. And these dudes are super, super talented here. I'm going to run down the card a bit so you guys can see. Dude, it's going to be a great night of wrestling. Make sure you guys check it out. Yeah. They're going to be crowning very soon new tag team champions, the inaugural tag team champions of Remarkable Wrestling. So we have a tournament going on, a lot to break down. It's going to be a great time. I hope to see some of you guys tomorrow night in Bayshore, New York, VPW. Come say hi. Pick up some stickers, dude. I got the coolest Shot Nostalgia stickers. I want to give them out. And that's the only way you can get them, seeing me in person. If you really want them, leave a review on the show, leave a comment, and, message me. I'll send you one, though. That's all I got, Mike Belcaster.
It's all you got. No, it's great. What a thing. Do you have a ring announcer to ring announce you to the ring announcing?
I gotta pick someone like you to do it. I think
just gonna come out there and be like, ladies and gentlemen, introducing the ace of the Turnbuckle Tavern, Stephen Acefield. It would be great. It would be beautiful. Anyway, let's scrap that. Let's go to theturnbuckletavern.com. You know the drill. We're doing this shill. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify, YouTube, Discord, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Pro Wrestling Tees, and as I like to say, that cute little piggy tail at the end, that's Teesprings. That's where all the forbidden merch is. That's where all the cool shit that we can't post on Pro Wrestling Tees because they don't want a shirt with the Taskmaster on it because they hate him that much. So we made the anti-Taskmaster shirt right here for Shot of Nostalgia. And you know Tavern Rule number 6. It's not Haku, it's Ming, or go fuck yourself. Go kick rocks, kid. You know, and we don't need that shit here.
I love it.
I love it too, man. But yeah, go check out theturnbuckletavern.com. Flying and jiving. Go hit subscribe. Like I said, ring that little notification bell for Mike Belcaster and Acefield over here. Let's get our shit going so you guys can be aware of when we're rolling and going and when we're ready for the show. And right? That was good. Not bad.
Yeah, so next week we have episode 27. I will be airing Friday the 21st. I'll be doing the ring announcing, but the episode will still air November 18th, Nitro and World War III. Can't wait to go through it. 60-man battle royal. A lot to talk about with that card and a lot to go into with the newsletter. And as we mentioned, there's only 30 episodes in this series of Shot Nostalgia Season 1. So we're at episode 27. You do the math here. 3 episodes left. But don't fear. We have Season 2 coming up, all scheduled here. 13 episodes to go through, starting with ECW Double Tables on November 10th, I think it says, right? Is that what it says?
November 18th.
Yeah, so it's a little bit small on my end. November 18th is the first episode of ECW Double Tables, 1995. It's going to look a lot different than how we're doing it here. Obviously, the aesthetic, the feel. There won't be as much meat on the bone as far as the newsletter goes, but we'll figure out cool things to talk about. ECW is crushing it. We're going to talk about a lot, and there's a lot of cool talent in ECW in 1995 that I'm looking forward to getting to. A nice little mini season, a little bite-sized season. 13 episodes will be here and gone, and then stay tuned for what Season 3 is going to hold.
Yeah, dude, ECW 95 is a good year of growth for that company, and a lot of good shit happens. And you guys might want to join us down that beautiful drive down Nostalgia Lane, brother, so you can hang out and, you know, as we have our shot of nostalgia every Friday night, you guys get to relive not only the best of WCW, some of the best of ECW, and a little teases of maybe what's to come for Season 3, 4, 5, 6. You never know where the line can end.
Who knows?
We got years and years of this shit in the bag, brother. It's going to be good. I'm fucking pumped.
Someone just handed me a tape. It's Roddy Piper covering NSYNC. I don't know what's going on, but he's in my ear. He's telling us we got to go. I'm going to play this video first. This one.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am Mike E. Dangerously, and you're watching Shot of Nostalgia. Let's get extreme.
We got to go. We're out of time.